Hi, everybody. It's Janet Eichhorst here and Jill Renee Feeler. Hi, Jill.
Hi.
How are you?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm good. We are in episode number 50 of this podcast series that Jill and I created a year ago. And I feel so much gratitude and how do I want to say it? I mean, gratitude isn't a big enough word to what I hold right now. And so I want to thank Jill and I want to thank everybody. And in the midst of this 50th episode and this anniversary, I and Jill are making an announcement here that we have come to a level of completion. And I kind of love this because everything that we've ever talked about and anything that we've ever explored here has been really going into the depth of what it is. And so we get to do this today with completion, to ending this year-long creation where Jill and I have been committed and really put our resources into a level of empowerment to challenge everything that isn't working in our world and to try to provide better ways of being and different things to try and different ways to be, which really maximizes a level of source creation that we are in the best ways possible, right? That's where we started out. And that's where I want to end. And in celebration of that, in gratitude for that, and why are we done? And for me, what I can say is that it's one of those things that I can feel, and I can feel these other aspects of me that want to create in other ways. So there's nothing wrong. I love Jill probably more than I did because I've gotten to see different aspects of her. And for somebody that shows up weekly to be as dedicated as she has been to really walk the walk in this particular way, I'm just, I'm very grateful for that. And to show up with me as a galactic shaman that I am, which we talked about again in number 49, is thrilling for me. And I've grown so much and I've gotten to know new people. And I feel like the energetics that we put in the field have been very meaningful. And we talked about that in 49 too. Sometimes you just don't necessarily know exactly what it is. And it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And that's about feeling. So to me, it's all about intuitive guidance. And it's funny because Jill and I haven't really talked or planned very much this whole time. We kind of show up every week and then we're like, well, maybe we need to pick a topic ahead of time and maybe we need to do this, but we've been kind of laissez faire about the whole thing, which I also think is a good thing for people to check out if you feel like you're an over planner. Because we literally, I did some sessions with Jill and she's like, well, if you want to do, and I was like, funny. I was like, well, let's just schedule it and try and see what happens. Right. And that's it. We didn't even have a pre-planned. I mean, we said, well, what's wrong, what we can do, some ideas. And then we kind of didn't even really follow that. So I'm just kind of, again, I'm challenging models where people, if you think that you have to have everything aligned ahead of time, well, not necessarily. When there's heart involved and when there's pure intention, you might be surprised what kind of doors can open and what things can happen just by taking the next step. And then, if something needs to come to completion, which I feel like this creation is, you can do it with grace, you can do it with gratitude, you can do it with honor and respect, and not make anybody wrong, and really be more celebratory and grateful for the whole experience, which I am. I mean, that's a huge foundation for my experience on this planet because I can choose any perspective I want, and that's the one I choose. Because that to me is really unconditional love in action, where I get to walk the walk no matter what. And I've got all kinds of feelings about it, but this feels just really simple, and I feel, like, warm and tender about it, you know, because 'cause it's been such a beautiful process for me personally.
Wow, that's beautiful. And now I'll try to measure up to that. I am so grateful for what we've done over the last year, Janet. I'm so grateful for you. I feel the same way. There is so much to respect, admire, and love and feel inspired by
Mm,
with you and by you. And I'm so grateful for everything that we've shared. I did notice that over time it was sort of we kind of felt like we were I don't want to we I never felt like we were forcing it, but I kind of felt like we already said that, we already said that. So it does feel like an organic sort of finale and conclusion. And I love that I love the library of content we've created. I really do. I feel, and I know that the audience has provided so much positive feedback about how they're enjoying the conversations, maybe at a more kind of like, I love the conversations with you and Janet. Other people going, I had never thought of that before. This is like super useful. I'm going to use this right away. Or that one made me think, or, whatever. I'm so grateful for the level of and the library of content, the depths that we went to, the ranges that we went to. There's a lot of variety here, and I like that was actionable, right? I know that with some of the other work that you and I do, it's so deep slash wide that it's yes applicable, but it's also for some individuals a bit harder to kind of apply in this reality. So having this podcast format where it was a bit more ready-made kind of pantry items that you could just kind of like, oh yeah, I know I can do something with this, I like that part. I like the accessibility of it. I like yeah, I'm really glad we did this.
mhm.
So this is the finale episode for the Janet and Jill duo, you guys.
Yay for us, and a big plug for empowerment, that's what
Hmm.
Jill and I are like, a big plug for you're the light, you can't not be, let's not pretend, right? Like,
Yes.
we've said that how many times? So many.
And a big plug for peaceful endings, you guys. This is not um this I know from my client work there are a lot of individuals that feel an ending to something, but they don't know what to do about it. They overthink it. It's like, well, what if they say this or what if they say that? And this was so easy breezy the way it came about. And I think it's a testament truly to the light that we allow, Janet, I know we each allow ourselves to be. So much mutual respect, so much mutual love and mutual support for each other. And you guys, people may surprise you. If you or they are looking for an ending, just knowing that you'll be okay if there is some sort of a conclusion to a relationship or a project that you're working on with somebody, please trust yourself and trust them that you could be the initiator of that conclusion or they could be the initiator of that conclusion. And it's fine either way. You can allow it to be filled with grace and love and again, mutual respect. So I'm glad we're getting to walk that talk too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wanna plug what I would call spiritual maturity, and I'm not
Mm.
claiming to be a spiritual giant here. I'm not, and, like, this is non-pedestal. I'm going with non-pedestal here. I'm just saying that it's possible. I wanna really encourage people to know the possibility of it. I mean, literally, Jill and I had a conversation an hour ago, and there were no major reactions on either side, and a recognition that it does feel like this is a level of completion. Now, will it go that way for everybody? Who knows? And my point is that you have the power of Source God within you for you to navigate it with grace. even if somebody might have some dependencies or some attachments that might come out even in negative ways when endings show up. And that's always where Jill and I have led everybody back to the best of our abilities every single time, is that that level of source within you is infinite, no matter what's happening on the outside. And my hope is that, you pick, partners to create with that have a level of spiritual maturity. Not that they, are perfect in every way, shape, or form, because I am not. I do have reactions. And, the possibility of honor is there even if people get triggered, even if people have big reactions. And we know those sayings that we've probably all heard before, "Oh, maybe we can finish this conversation later." I would love to have it with you. I love you, and let's try it later, okay? And Jill and I'm very grateful that that wasn't the case for us. We could talk about it an hour ago, and here we are completing with, I have such love in my heart and such gratitude. And this is for the community. This is for the platform that we have here, and for people that have benefited from what we have offered freely, quite freely.
I also love the aspect of trust. And I can imagine that for some people, if they are wishing there was a conclusion or feeling like there's a conclusion to something, whether it's a relationship or a project or a role that you play or just a pattern of behavior that you have, coming to a sense of trust that everyone involved is capable of being okay with whatever your inclination is. Um, Being clear with yourself allows you to be clearer with them. Try not to, find the perfect timing. I know for a lot of people there's well, I can't say this thing that may not go well because they've got this going on or they've got that going on, or I can't say it now. There may not be an ideal timing. So, I know for some people, they can play a game with themselves of, "I need to wait for them to be done with this or me to be done with that, to be done with something else that we're doing together," and I know from my experience that's not true, and I feel like we underestimate ourselves, and I know we underestimate others. So, having that sense of trust, of even just the curiosity question you could give to your brain is, "Maybe everybody will be okay if I say what I would like to happen with or this, or that."
And I think the way I say it matters, because nobody can argue with the truth that I know for myself.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I didn't ask Jill. I was like, "Jill, can we end?" Right? I didn't ask her permission.
My favorite words are, "I've decided." When there's a difficult conversation, "I've decided," or "It's clear to me," or something like that, you're not asking for permission, you're not asking for somebody else to be okay with something, and that it becomes a self-loving mechanism.
Yeah. And that really allows that level of truth, allows my light to shine in a way that if I'm trying to caretake the other's potential response, which I made up in my head, mind you, right? Like, this is this scenario, right? "Oh, they might," and usually in a negative way. We very rarely do that in positive ways, but
Mhm,
we usually
mhm.
do it in negative ways. So that level of truth really does make a difference. I mean, I remember when my ex had her stroke and needed basically constant care, and she was getting better, and I was ready to do things that I wanted to do, which meant travel. And I remember like, "Oh," just thinking, "This might not go well." And then one day, and I did what I do to be who I am, and one day there was a very simple moment, and I said, I really need to do this." and I'm asking for your support." I don't remember how I said it. And she stopped and she thought a minute. She said, "Okay." Now, mind you, this meant that we needed to have caretakers there when I wasn't there because she wasn't capable of taking care of everything herself at that point in time. So it was a big deal.
Mhm.
And there was something about the level of heart and the level of love and the level of truth where I expressed that, where her and who she was couldn't say no to that because it was the right thing, so to speak. Not in the right wrong continuum, but it was just the next step in what needed to happen. And that's happened over and over and over, and I agree, if I relied on my mind to give me permission to say it's the right time, I wouldn't be doing anything probably in my life.
Me either. Yeah, when I think of all the things that I especially can look back on and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that." My brain was not like full green light. My brain was definitely like, "Wait, red light, yellow light, like constant red light, pump those brakes, Jill." Like, "No, we don't have enough information," or "It's too risky," or "It might go this way," or "It might go that way." Yeah, you just
Or I need to
life
feel. I need to feel a certain way in order
yeah,
to do this. And
it
I
can't
love
be okay.
I love these plugs we're putting in here because I don't know anybody that has not, and my circle might be different than yours, that's cool, but I don't know anybody that's not experiencing opportunities for big change and big shifts that are more core level than they've been in a long time. And so, if there is a shift, if you are one of those people in a big shift time, I love that we're plugging and giving ideas and how for you to shift in a more celebratory way, right? Like, watch the mind. Don't create a story about why you can't or can't. You know, cheerlead yourself in whatever way you need to do. Maybe you put on your favorite socks. I don't know what it would be for you, where you feel like strong in those socks, whatever it is, right? Maybe you hold your favorite talus, because you just feel good when you hold it. I wasn't today, but I do really love this crystal, right? But whatever it is for you.
The and I we probably have covered this in one of the 50 podcasts that we've done. I love
Yeah.
that number. It's quite a library, you guys.
Yeah.
But I think I'm imagining, and I do know from my own experience with client work that there are some people that feel like going to the feeling part, well, I still have uncertainty, I still have doubt. So it must not be the right thing to do. I'm just speaking for myself here and validation from clients that sometimes the things you regret the least, i.e., are most excited about that you've done, you still had doubt, you still had uncertainty. So feeling led or motivated or inspired or confident enough to say yes doesn't mean there's zero doubt. It doesn't mean there's no uncertainty. It doesn't mean that it's like, oh, I've got it all figured out. I have all the information I need.
Right.
Right. So that might demystify some essence of courage, right? That goes forward too, is you just need a system to address your uncertainty and doubt and lack of information in order to proceed with your curiosity, your inspirations, and your actions.
Yeah. That's true with doubt and fear.
Mhm. Yeah, because the
There's
uncertainty can be lead to fears in some people, and it can be a bit more neutral in terms of doubt with others. Thank you for adding that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I had a reading done one time, and I think it was human design, and, we've talked about the validity or how useful those can be, and this was one case where it was kinda helpful for me. There's, in the way human design, the whole modality is, I have a split, they call it a split, and I have a very large split, and the woman says to me, she's like, "Well, you're gonna feel about 60% confident." And I was like, and I just started cracking up. She's like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, I was hoping for at least 80." Like I wanna feel more certain. Like, a little over half is good, but I'd rather be like, "This is what I need to do, and I'm very clear about it, and there's not one," and that's not realistic, you know? And so it was a reflection back to me about how, like, don't even think you're gonna get 100%, and you don't need 90, you don't need 80. Like, you've been operating, if this is true, and there's debate about whether it's true or not, you've been operating very well on what this system says 60%, you know? And I was like, "Well, that's pretty damn good then. I mean, I'll take it," right? But it's that same concept of, you don't I don't think there's anything about 100% clarity. I do think, however, there's a power within me that kind of is guiding me without, I would say, my human permission. where where even if my mind thinks I'm going to do this, sometimes it's sort of like my body just kind of takes control and I'm doing this thing anyway, which is really, to me, that's the essence of divine flow. I would call that a lot of times, and how I'm going to do it regardless of whether I give my approval or whatever my mind's doing. And so that cracks me up when that happens, because I notice it. I notice, I was like, wow, I guess I'm doing this today. Quite, surprising to me, but it appears like this is the next thing to do. So let's just go with it and see what happens. In that enough neutrality that I'm not trying to get in my own way. Right. So and with closures and beginnings, those are the ones where if we have any kind of patterning or beliefs, that's oftentimes where they will get triggered and in the way, because it feels risky. It
Mhm.
did.
And I mean, I feel in this reality like, it's possible to always, be able to identify some sort of risk with any action or, way forward. Um, it might be helpful for people to consider that you may have your own relationship with the source energy you are. So you may have a relationship with the source energy that you are that does, as you were describing it, Janet, as I think I heard it, that your body is sort of like, I know you think you're going over here, but your legs are actually going to move over here because I noticed you're not paying attention to this and I would rather you do this. So please follow me. And you're just like, your legs are like, okay, here we go. So that could be a system that people identify with, and they definitely, like, yeah, that's me. I feel it very differently, where there's always, I mean, if I'm ever saying to the source energy I am, which some people call their team or their guides, well, what should we do here? I always feel my source energy go, I don't know, Joe, what do you want to do? I never feel
Mm,
like I'm being, and it could just be my reflection of it, and maybe it does work that way. I actually don't think it does, though.
mm,
So if I don't, as my Jill, go, I think we're going to try this out. I don't find myself kind of like, I don't know how I got here. Like, I'm at this conference, I didn't want to be here. I don't even remember buying the ticket, but I was just had a ticket. Here I am. And some people have those experiences, and I think that's fascinating. So it's cool to think about it, that each of us may have our own system with
yeah,
the source energy that we are.
yeah. And I love the choice points, and I know for me, I tend to be one that gets to question my choice points, and I hope everybody does. Like, you have your own evaluation and discernment mechanisms, for your choice points, because I love that we have them as humans here. And I love that you brought that in because, yeah, everybody and on the earth but me might think it's a great idea. And I'm just like, no, I'm not doing that.
Hmm.
And I hope if you're one of those people and that happens for you and that's the choice for you and you feel good about it, I hope to God you say no. Because how else are we going to create new things and change patterns? Somebody's got to be the first one to say no.
I have to admit, I love originality. I mean, yeah. So whenever anyone says everybody says or everybody's doing, I immediately go, I we've already I don't need to
Yeah.
rehash what I've
Code
already shared
word,
before, but
code
that is
word.
it's me. Yeah, I start to kinda take 2 steps to the right going, "Let me look at this.
Yeah.
Let me see what I feel."
I'm curious, do you see, um and from your clients and yourself and in your own life, do you feel the change to the degree that I'm experiencing right now and feeling? I'm just curious from your geo perspective and your
Yeah, that's a
galactic.
good question. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not looking for any sort of grand shift or grand change. Um, I definitely see individuals that are looking for growth and expansion, but I would not characterize that as everybody that I'm observing or everybody around me.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't characterize it as any more grand or more significant than another time. So I like your take that you are. I mean, that's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I geek out on a lot of things, and so, um, how I see the change and the way that I notice reality, that's why I think it's bigger than normal. Like, if you saw just pretend for a minute that you see reality in different levels. Like, here's the very root, and then there's different levels, surface levels and deeper levels and deeper levels. So, when I look at change happening, sometimes I see it more at a core level, and sometimes I see it more at a surface level. And the way that I'm experiencing it and working with the energetics tend to be more like, "Mm, wrong plant, new plant." And I see that within my own operating system, and I see that with others' operating systems where it's almost, and we've talked about this before too, sometimes it feels more like a new beginning, and even in the, Christian sense, you could call it being reborn. I see that happening at that level of people's experience here, and it doesn't mean anything necessarily except for the fact that if things are happening, for you on that degree, and you think it's surface and don't quite see it in the bigger picture, it can be a little harder sometimes because there's not the level of alignment, or you might not get whatever you would call support, or if you knew it was deeper than you think it is, you might care for yourself in a different way. And so that's for me why it's important for me to, and it's just really how I'm wired. Important, it's just the way I do things, and so I recognize it like that. And sometimes there's been kind of more core shifts that I've breezed through without recognizing how big it is until the end. Like, after the fact, I'll look back and say, "Didn't realize that one was so big." And that's
Mhm.
okay too. And so it just depends, I guess, if you're, struggling a little bit with something, if there's a little bit of that or a lot of that in there, just check out what would be helpful, I'll say. Whether that's a new beginning, whether that's a completion, or where you're in the midst of whatever that seems challenging.
In the example that you gave about going through a big change and then not really realizing it until later, would you characterize it as that a big change in that sense happened to you?
No, I think it was really created, and I'll equate it to being more carried where
But
there's
it's
not,
passive, right?
um, in
Like
the sense that there wasn't a reason, or it would have hindered the process if I woulda had more awareness during it. And sometimes I would say where I needed to focus my energy was not on what was happening, but actual in the experience of it, because that's where my energy was required. And sometimes it is about, with massive things, I just stay focused on this because I would blow a gasket or blow some energy. It's just too much for all of me to be present to at one time. and I've experienced that. So it's kind of resource management, I would say.
Mhm.
And also sometimes I think there are some things, the term we've used in the past is under the line that might be more potentially trauma triggering or difficult in that way that I don't need to be present to because the way it's going to be transformed or transcended doesn't need a level of consciousness. And so it really feels like I'm being carried. And I trust in all that too. You know, it's where do I put my focus? How do I live? Am I just following one breadcrumb at a time? Or do I have kind of the whole plan before me and I'm just kind of clicking off little pieces of it as I go along? And
I'm
it's never the same for me. It doesn't seem to be. I've
I'm
got
sure a
all
lot
of
of
it.
people can identify with what you're describing. And I agree with the part that we don't need to know. We don't need to be aware. We don't need to drive, if you will, a big change when
Mm,
it's underway, for it to happen. Um, what was the other part I wanted to make available for people to consider? Um, Maybe it's not important. Oh, I remember. So I do believe that big change is capable all the time for anyone. And I just wanted to reiterate that because that kind of it's a reiteration of other things that we've shared in the podcast. I know sometimes people can feel like there's a wave and you can be on it or not on it. And if you ever watch surfers waiting for a wave, they're chatting up, they're vibing, whatever, but they're not riding a wave, people. You know what I mean? And I don't believe our soul um, experiencing of ourselves as soulfulness or the big growth kind of like oh my gosh, I feel so much more of my sovereignty right now, and whatever that means to you, more confidence, feeling more loved, feeling more gentle with yourself, feeling more gentle with others, feeling more peace, feeling more excitement,
mm,
feeling more motivated. It can be a whole bunch of different sensations, but I do believe that a big wave of that growth for anyone can happen at any time. And it could feel like only you, and it could feel like everyone you know. And they're all options. So
mm. I think sometimes I choose to do those when other people aren't. I mean,
it's interesting given that you're feeling like everybody around you is going through this one,
and I
right? So this one might be different then.
yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that there's no, thing that's true all the time for people with it, because a lot of times I do feel like that. It's
Mhm.
kind of like nobody loses their shit all at the same time because somebody's gotta be there, you know, cleaning the dishes and cooking the food and, there's always I really do believe in that. There's always, we'll always get our needs met. And I do think on a soulful level, I do choose to make big shifts and a lot of times I'll make them before everybody else does the same sort of process. Like in kind of like soul groups, sometimes there's a lot of people that are making the shifts at the same time. And for that particular soul group, sometimes I will make those shifts before the rest of the soul group does. And again, that's not I'm better or worse. It's just that, then I have energetics that I'm offering that other people can be present to and use while they're going through their big shifts, and people do that before me. So there's no hierarchical anything with this. And then sometimes on the tail end, like, I've had that experience too, and I don't tend to panic anymore, even though sometimes I'll go through some very deep emotional processes, that feel like I should be panicking, but I just don't tend to, even though the emotions can be very intense and it literally feels like I'm dying or some extreme sensations, but I've gratefully can, even if I'm on the tail end or whatever the situation is, feeling those very deep and intense emotions, I can ride the waves better than I've ever been able to do it before. And it doesn't mean I'm not on that expansive edge either, where it's like, "Fuck, this is a challenge now. Okay, breathe. We got this," right? Like, I still get those, and I'm still in, right? And still try to be
Mhm.
celebratory and appreciative because I know it's been all like, my higher levels and my soul knows what they're doing. Like, I'm not that's a core belief of mine,
Mhm.
you know?
This reminds me of the podcast that we did where we were talking about the metaphor of the weather. And some people
Mhm.
are, no matter what the weather, they feel like they're camping outdoors with no tent, just maybe a sleeping bag. And I was using the metaphor of, and I think some of us built ourselves like, a really, really sturdy brick house. That it's not that there's not a hurricane, it's that we're not freaking out. There's
Yeah,
no reminders of breathing or anything like that. And I don't think there's a wrong way either. I
right.
know I have my preferences though.
Yeah,
And I know that that can be interpreted sometimes as being judgmental or, whatever. I don't mean it to be, but I like to have a preference. And I kind of wish I think it's good to have a preference. Whether when Janet and I talk about it, you're like, oh, I'm definitely a camp outdoors kind of girl, no tent. I don't want any barrier between me and the elements. I want to feel it all. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, not me. You know what I mean? I think that's great. I just keep giggling because there literally is a butterfly that kind of goes by and it goes like this. And in recording 49, I was offering a metaphor of a butterfly versus a herded animal that's like cattle or sheep. A butterfly.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to a friend recently, and we were talking about living situations and what an ideal community would be
Mm,
and this sort of thing, and I said, "Well, I do like my comfortable bed." I do
mhm.
like and she looks at me and she's like, "Yeah," and she asked me my sign and all this, and that's fine. I don't
She asked you what? Your
my
what?
sign, like my astrological sign.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then she's like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." And in her world, it did, and it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, her view and whatever. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't put too much weight in that generally, but it does seem to be, coincidental a lot of times. But it was funny because I was like, and those are the choices. It's like, well, yeah, like I love to get that, and I love this, and it's like, and I want my comfortable bed, and I don't like mosquitoes. So,
Oh,
how do I work that out, I mean, I was taking a walk yesterday in the Red Rocks, and I just wanted to sit outside and just, be in the beauty of nature and all that, and all of a sudden I hear, I was like, "Ready to go, Gracie?" I was like, "That's my cue," "I got my breaths in and I feel good, and I'm not gonna be bad today, thank you very much," right? And that's okay, right? It's funny. Choice points, "No mosquitoes here, thank you very much." Yeah, well, just see what else wants to be kind of completed here, if there's any
hmm.
I's to dot, or T's to cross, or gifts to receive, or beauty to radiate,
I
or
definitely wanna say thank you to everybody that's been kind of with us throughout this journey. There's definitely a group that was there from the beginning, and, love you guys. And, Janet has her own website, I have my own website. We each have our own social media. We each have our own different ways of creating. The majority of my content creation is on my membership.
mm,
So on my website under members,
mm,
there's two new experiences every month. And one is an online open house with members. So, in terms of a group experience and kind of regular content that's shared, and one is a channeled message every month on Janet's website. I know Janet's newsletter. If you guys are not signed up to Janet's newsletter, I highly recommend it. There's great.
mm,
Yeah. There are so many skills, since you are so generous in how you
mm,
share the
mm.
insights that you're getting, et cetera. And I just highly recommend that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jill's got some great content out there and a lot of it, and I'm sure that your monthly offerings are amazing, and what I love one of the things I do in my, newsletter is, like, all the pictures I put in there, 99% of them are pictures that I take. And so they're like, "I am a
Oh.
flower geek." I mean, I've just got so many flowers that I took when I was, on my European adventure, which
Mm.
kinda turned into a pilgrimage, which was kinda funny because the car broke
Oh.
down. So that was very interesting in of itself, but I got to do a lot of walking on the English countryside and just seeing so much beauty in Europe, and that's one of the things I love to do, and, yeah, so for me, probably the best way is sign up for my newsletter and anything that's coming up. I'm, still tossing around a retreat for the spring. They sold the house that I had booked, and so I've got a call later this afternoon to see if I'm gonna book a different house for spring equinox. But any offerings, you can book sessions on my website, and the session work is getting how do I wanna say that? Better than I could have ever dreamed. Like, it just keeps getting more simple in the transformations people are having. And we continually use, I wanna say, new technologies or new energetics for people to really get their game on, whatever that means for you. And that's in any walk of life that you happen to be in. And for people that like upgrades, even if we use very simple language, we do a gazillion of them, and it happens very organically. It's a very simple and kind and loving process. So I would, love to work with anybody and everybody, and I do wanna express my gratitude too for everybody that's listened even once to our podcasts and really got to receive whatever it is, whether it's, a new perspective, whether it's a complete energetic download, whatever it is, what we've offered kind of under the table a lot of times because we don't necessarily verbalize everything and usually don't actually verbalize what we feel coming through what we've done. It's there and it's timeless, and you can go back and listen to any of those podcasts that we've done, and the energetics are there. And so, it is a library, and yeah, just infinite gratitude to anybody that's participated at all and, commented, liked, all that stuff is so much appreciated. And we'll see. I've got some other creative things under my belt that I'm being guided to do, and I'm excited about it, you know?
That's awesome.
Evolution's amazing, really, where I go with evolution, I love it, and it's
Me
so much
too.
there's so much to offer.
Individual evolution is freedom.
Complete freedom. Complete, utter totality of that, and with this kind of embodiment phase that I really feel people are in, and we talked about that in 49 from the galactic and cosmic levels, how we're really, implementing more of our skill sets in incredible ways. I'm super excited about it.
For those who want it, it's there. It's
Yeah,
always been there.
yeah, that's
It's
right.
so good. Yeah.
It can't not be. I mean, that's how we've all designed it. That's my view, and and I can see your higher levels. I was like, "Oh, yeah, good move,
Mm.
you." I love that.
Mm.
I love
It's
that.
such a good time. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. The
Thank you.
replays are there. Enjoy.
Yeah, please use them.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks.
Love you. Thanks,
Love
everybody.
you.
Thanks, Janet.
Thanks, Jill. Bye.